The Knicks getting Karl Anthony Towns, I think, is definitely huge. I think, how the starting five fits, I think the lineup fits a lot better. It's more cohesive. Karl Anthony Towns and Jalen Brunson are going to be able to play off each other a lot more. Jalen Brunson has another scoring option. That I think is an upgrade from Julius Randle. He fits, the other guys a little more than Julius Randle would have. Mikal Bridges, OG, those two guys, two of the best wing defenders in the NBA. They're going to be able to cover up what Karl Anthony Towns isn't as a defender. And Karl Anthony Towns was pretty decent against the Denver Nuggets in the playoff series. In the whole playoffs, he was pretty solid as a defender, but on a consistent basis, he's not a great defender. But offensively, this is one of the best shooting bigs of all time. One of the best shooters in the league. He's shooting 41% from three right now, 21 points per game kind of scorer. I think with the Knicks, this offense, he's going to be able to get more open looks for everybody around him, and just the offense for the Knicks is going to be a lot better. They needed more shooting, and having your big be able to shoot, that's going to be huge. We saw Karl Anthony Towns take a backseat to Anthony Edwards and really be his biggest cheerleader, so we can see him doing the same thing with Jalen Brunson. See him buying into a situation, adjusting. He's not going to be the best player on this team. He wasn't the best player in Minnesota. So far, we know he's going to be able to buy in and play whatever role he needs to play to win a championship. In this Knicks team, they're in the best position possible to win a championship. I know you give up DiVincenzo. That's a huge loss because he made a lot of big time shots in the playoffs. Like literally with Randall, OG out, he was stepping up. Him and Hart were, making clutch baskets. They were second and third best players behind Brunson. They were carrying their fair share of the load. Big reason why they could have made the Eastern Conference Finals. But DiVincenzo leaving, you have a lot of depth on this team still. Josh Hart, Deuce McBride. You have some other guys on this roster that can, pick up that slack and cover that up. And with Karl Anthony Towns, this is an all-star big. One of the best bigs in the league. So losing DiVincenzo is a huge loss, but you cover that up with shooting and a guy that's going to be able to be a presence in the paint, because offensively they didn't have a big that could do some of the things Karl Anthony Towns could, and that's going to be huge for them. It is a loss losing DiVincenzo, though, as a perimeter defender, because you're going to need him for Drew Holiday, some of those guys for the Boston Celtics. Those kind of matchups will be, Tyrese Maxey if you play the Sixers at some point in the playoffs. Karl Anthony Towns isn't going to be able to stop Embiid, but that's why you probably move him to the 4, and you have Mitchell Robinson at the 5 and Precious, those guys, covering Embiid. That matchup will look a little better. But for me, I think the Knicks won this trade, and I think this is a huge move for them. And we're now NBA title contenders for sure. If they weren't already with Mikal Bridges, they are for sure title contenders now. And Karl Anthony Towns, you replace Julius Randle with Karl Anthony Towns. Julius Randle doesn't really show up in the playoffs. All the talk about him being a playoff choker. That's what the numbers say too. Every time he's in the playoffs, not that same guy. Karl Anthony Towns, last playoffs, he showed up big for the Timberwolves. There were some games where he didn't play to the level he should be, but against the Nuggets, they were able to beat the Nuggets because Karl Anthony Towns is a defender, and what he provided them offensively, he was aggressive. Like, he showed up big and was locked in. The most locked in we've seen Karl Anthony Towns. So if he could provide that for the Knicks this year, the Knicks will go far. Eastern Conference Finals at the lowest, I think. And if they see Boston or Philly, it's going to be tough. I think they match up with Boston the best. With Mikal Bridges and OG and Brunson, what he did last year and the year before, that he's a legit number 1 star. One of the best point guards in the NBA right now, an elite playmaker, clutch, ice in his veins. You get him a co-star in Karl Anthony Towns, Mikal Bridges, Josh Hart, the Nova Knicks. It's still there a little. And you have great defenders, Tom Thibodeau. This Knicks team is going to be able to create a lot of problems for any team in the NBA, more specifically Boston. So right now, I think I'd put them as the second or third best team. I need to see how Philly looks before I say they're better than Philly. But right now, I really like this Knicks team, and I think making this move was necessary with Mitchell Robinson. Gonna miss time potentially till January. This was necessary because Precious can't be your starting 5 all year. You lost Isaiah Hartenstein, and he was huge for you last year as a defender. Karl Anthony Towns, it's going to get scary in New York. I know he's zesty and stuff, but as a player, As a player, you're getting a dog, a guy that's going to shoot the lights out of the ball, and he's going to be locked in, presence in the paint. The pick and roll, pick and pop with Jalen Brunson is going to be scary. So the Knicks got a lot better, and teams should be scared of the Knicks in the East. Some people thought the NFC North was going to be the worst division in football this season. They thought it was going to be as bad as the NFC South.